Okay, looks like we are live on YouTube, so now we can kick the show off. So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone listening, wherever and whenever this podcast finds you. So, thanks for tuning in, and welcome to the Bitcoin Weekly Wrap Up for September 13th, 2019. If you're watching on YouTube right now, live, it'll be actually recorded on the 12th. So, this week's weekly roundup is sponsored by eToro, which is a trusted smart trading platform that's over 12 years old. It conducts over $1 trillion in trading annually. They offer innovative tools and advanced charting features to help you be the best trader that you can be. US customers can now trade the most popular crypto assets with transparent low fees. And if you're new to trading while you are learning, you could practice strategies with their virtual trading tool, letting you use virtual money to test and see how your strategies would react in a real trading environment. You can connect with 11 million other traders where you can discuss trading, charting, and strategies and anything else trading and Bitcoin related. If you go to didyouknowcrypto.com/eToro, that's ETORO, and that's going to forward you to my affiliate link. But the reason you want to do that is that's going to give you $50, subject to some terms and conditions, and you have to deposit a certain amount. But if you use that link, it's going to help me and you as a listener of the show by letting my sponsors know that you guys are coming through my link, and also you get $50. So everybody wins. It's pretty cool. So head over to didyouknowcrypto.com/eToro. That's didyouknowcrypto.com/ETORO. And if you hear a little bit of rumbling, there's actually a pretty big thunderstorm coming through right now. So that's what that noise will be. So hopefully we don't get the power knocked out during the stream here. So, all right. So the first story that we're going to be talking about is, of course, ones that we always lead with, given that our sponsor is eToro for trading. We're going to talk about price real quick. I am not a trader per se, and this is not financial advice. All this stuff I'm talking about is just merely educational. Use it as you will and do your own research, of course. So looks like the price was dipping below 10,000 again. But some people have been saying that it's kind of favoring the bulls since it's been trading sideways at about 10,000 and has been looking pretty good. Some people have been predicting a breakout, but we will see. So always use your own caution. Make sure that you are practicing stop losses and other, strategies to keep, your wealth safe, and that you're not trading emotionally and all those kinds of things. But anyways, best of luck to you. Oh, there's a good rumble right there. The first story that we're going to lead off with, actually, the first two real stories is going to be about kind of a Libra related. France says it's going to block Facebook Libra in Europe. So this is the finance minister. He said that the nation had plans to block Facebook's Libra cryptocurrency in the EU over concern that it poses a threat to the sovereignty of national currencies. And all I have to say to that is, obviously, you know what, Sherlock, in that regard. They are basically posturing currently that if Libra is seeking to become a currency and thus be a competition against, the euro or the pound. Well, I guess the pound's not really going to matter pretty soon in terms of the eurozone. Then they're basically saying that we cannot authorize the development of Libra on European soil. It was a lot of just kind of nationalist kind of central bank kind of talking points and things like that. And this is one, this story kind of shows a couple things. First take that I would say is that I think this is more posturing than anything else. I think that a lot of these countries, or the conglomerates of countries like the EU, are posturing at the moment, and they are trying to put pressure on the, keep on wanting to say Facebook, and I think it's a bit of a misnomer to keep on calling it Facebook, because I don't think that eBay, MasterCard, and Visa are just letting Facebook run with this and do whatever they want. This is a group effort. And I think that this is kind of these are just opening bids and negotiations on how these things are going to run. The way that Libra presented itself in their white paper that was released that myself, along with many others, is not just an original thought of mine, is that the way that they presented it would allow pseudonymous use, just like Bitcoin, right? Where you could, the average person is going to use the Calibra wallet off of Facebook or whatever one that Visa MasterCard set up to use. But, these custodial wallets. But it did allow the use for you to basically, like in Bitcoin, you can just create your own, you can generate a random address, and you can use that wallet to accept Libra. So the way that, there's no way to, like in Bitcoin, if you actually mine it or go to a miner and pay cash or whatever to get clean Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin that hasn't passed through an exchange to you and all that kind of stuff. With Libra, you would have to get it from somebody. You can't just mine it yourself, or go to somebody who mines it, because it's going to be controlled by the association. But you could go to somebody that has Libra, accept it as payments, and as long as there's no paper trail saying that you own that wallet, there's a way to kind of pseudonymously use Libra in a way. I'm guessing this is kind of a opening gambit to changing a little bit of that code and possibly not allowing you to do that, among a few other changes. I don't know how, we'll see what happens. Libra might actually, I was fairly certain a few months ago that Libra was actually going to happen. I'm a little bit less certain now. Something like Libra is going to happen. A national government can't do it. Like the U.S. is not going to open up U.S. coin. Although I think national governments are going to do that eventually. There was I didn't pull up the story, so I'm not going to waste your guys' time me trying to pull it up. But there was a Pacific Island nation that was pulling they're creating their own. Gosh, I'm sorry that I should have pulled this up, but they're experimenting with their own national cryptocurrency. Everyone, I think, is going to do this, but I don't think I think that the threat that Bitcoin and decentralized currencies, like decentralized money, I think they're starting to understand how disruptive that is. And I don't think each individual country, I think a lot of them are realizing or will realize that each individual country doing it is not going to work. It's not going to pose a threat like a more concerted effort that a private pseudo-private company can offer. Whereas if you have U.S. coin, it's going to feel like U.S. imperialism if France adopts it, or the EU adopts it, and China adopts it or whatever. Although I think China will never, but various other countries try to do this. Whereas if it's by default a public or a private entity that has deep ties to national governments is able to do this, I think it's far more likely that it will succeed, because it doesn't have the nationalistic competition aspect of trying to get Canadians to go, well, we're going to adopt the US crypto now. I think it would be a harder pill to swallow than allowing something like Libra to take hold naturally in the internet ecosystem, and kind of just naturally allowing it to be kind of default world currency makes a lot more sense. It's a lot more doable than a bunch of individual national ones. And I think they're going to come around to it. The reason that I'm still, I don't want to say bullish, and I don't want to say optimistic, because I also don't like it, but whatever, optimistic on Libra's chances of actually happening is because Mark Zuckerberg, I think, is highly underrated by a lot of people in kind of the millennial, especially Bitcoin crowds, right? Everyone goes, they steal your privacy and they're data mining you. Yeah, okay, all that. But Mark Zuckerberg, recognized when he was working with the Winklevoss twins to do Crimson Connect for the Harvard folks, and when he started to realize what all that meant, what a social network was, and then created the Facebook, and he goes from that, beats out Friendster, beats out MySpace, just innovates and just dominates. and then goes and he buys Instagram for $1 billion. Everybody said that he was crazy for doing so. And then now it's making 9 times that just in revenue, not counting its valuation if you want to sell it. Right? He tried to buy Snapchat, realizing what Snapchat was going to be. They didn't want to. I mean, the guy was independent. He already had money, so he was not wowed by a big offer. They just copied it, and now Snapchat's kind of not doing it as well. Although they haven't, Instagram hasn't, and stories and Facebook stories have not recaptured quite the youth market like I think they thought they would. But anyways, he's always at the forefront. He's very, very good at what he does. So I don't tend to bet against. Yeah, hopefully we don't lose power. I don't tend to bet against Mark Zuckerberg. Doesn't matter my feelings on how he operates his companies as far as his ability to win. I don't bet against him per se. The next Libra, and this kind of relates to Bitcoin as well, was Sigal Mandokar. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. Speaking to reporters in Switzerland, she's the Undersecretary of Treasury for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence. She was saying that not only just Libra, but also other cryptocurrencies, ostensibly Bitcoin, that operate in or part way in the United States will need to comply with rules aimed to prevent financial crimes. And she specifically said, and this is a quote, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Libra, our message is the same to all these companies. Anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorism has to be built into your design from the get-go. So there's a lot to unpack there. One, obviously, Bitcoin is not a company. There are companies that operate in the Bitcoin, space, that exchanges and payment processors that operate Bitcoin and all these kinds of things. There's no company. There's no Bitcoin company to go after. Ethereum, they've declared it, or at least they've stated that it's not a security, but it does not mean that they can't go after. It's a lot. Ethereum is much more centralized, in my opinion. I don't think that that's necessarily a unique opinion to myself, or it's definitely not a unique opinion to myself. Libra is definitely centralized, right? XRP, as much as the XRP army bots don't want to hear about it, sorry, you guys are centralized. It's a lot easier, and the idea that this is, and I would like to, read a little bit the actual. I'd like to really see the full interview, but I could not find it at the time. But to hear like word for word, the Reuters article is pretty much the same as the, I can't remember if this was Cointelegraph or yeah. So it portrays, and it could have been, just a figure of speech that she was using, but it also does betray the fact that they don't really understand a lot of this stuff. And the idea of money, AML and KYC being built into Bitcoin, well, it's not built in from the get-go, and it's not going to and it's not going to happen. So how they want to go about this is very interesting. Can you go and find companies that operate within Bitcoin because they're allowing Bitcoin to be traded and it doesn't have this built in? If they wanted to press it, I don't know. I don't really think so. Like I said, I think a lot of this is posturing, and I think they understand that with Bitcoin and a lot of the other crypto assets out there, especially Bitcoin, that you can't. It's impossible. The cat's out of the bag. Pandora's box is open. Whatever other analogy that you want to use, it's already too late. So I think what they're looking to do is pressure Libra into making some changes, and then once Libra and these national governments kind of have like an understanding and start to go forward, there's going to be a PR push. There's going to be a lot of bad press coming out. You're not going to see these really, CFTC interviews and things going, oh yeah, this, we just want to help. I think you're going to see a PR push that Bitcoin's bad. Bitcoin finances terrorism. Bitcoin finances human trafficking. Bitcoin, fill in the blank, whatever the worst thing that you can think of that's done through illegal markets is going to be that 2013, because that was a really big push in 2013, post Silk Road was pushed, and we're going to see a rehash of that. And we're going to see Bitcoin is the dark, seedy, yucky thing Libra is the regulated, it's the good one. You know, it's the ones that are operated by all these, you know, good guys like Visa and MasterCard. I think that's what you're going to see. The next story was, this was just kind of interesting. So this was actually, I didn't cover it last week, but it was from last week, was the Bitcoin whale who moved $1 billion in Bitcoin. And I believe that it was, yeah, looks like Huobi Global, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, was the ones that were kind of maybe behind it. But it was 94,000 Bitcoin. And it was really funny, actually, that if you actually looked at it, the guy, it just seemed like something that everybody does. You know, even though I've sent Bitcoin to various, like for years, I still will do, like, if it's, to a new wallet, I'll still send, just like like a dust transaction to it, basically. It makes no sense, but I still do it. And then once I say confirm, then I send the rest of it, right? So he sent 0.1 Bitcoin and then sent 94,000 Bitcoin. And then for some reason sent one other singular Bitcoin. Maybe that was just left over. It was supposed to be 94,506 instead of 94,505. And then they spent, was it $700, I think, in the fees, which is funny because yes, Bitcoin BTC fees are much higher than a lot of the other cryptocurrencies, but $7 even for a transaction, or $700 for a transaction, is ridiculous. I mean, even if you wanted to get it, it was overly done. It was just, I don't know. To me, it seemed like this was indications of somebody that was in charge of a lot of money that was still very new to Bitcoin, is kind of what this read to me. But I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was funny to me. It was funny when I looked at that, and it was like 0.1 Bitcoin, then 94,000 Bitcoin. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny. And then the last story that I was going to be looking at was the 2 billion lost in Mt. Gox. Bitcoin hack can be recovered, lawyer claims. So the Moscow-based law firm ZP Legal claims to have identified Russian nationals who received Bitcoin stolen in the 2014 hack of Mt. Gox. And I think a lot of it is related to the Alexander Vinnik, the guy who ran BTCE exchange, which is an old school exchange. Anybody that's been around in Bitcoin for a while probably remembers that exchange in their infamous troll box, which I always thought was hilarious. And the Mt. Gox creditors were saying that ZP Legal contacted them earlier this year, offering an opportunity for them to recover about a quarter of the missing 850,000 Bitcoins. That would be about $2 billion as of today. And this is really interesting. I'm not going to go over all the kind of details of the case, but it is really interesting to think of what's going to happen with that. And because I think that the chances of like a Craig Wright dumping of Bitcoin BTC come January is probably you probably have a better chance of winning the Powerball than that actually happening. This sounds like it has a pretty good chance of happening. So what does that actually mean? What's it going to mean for markets? Would this sorry, it's raining pretty heavily now, so if you hear a lot of that background noise, that's what it is. What would happen with that? So a lot of the people that would have had Bitcoin at that time would have been old school Bitcoiners, but how many of those people have really stuck around or are still there and would be receiving this? I think that a lot of the people that got burned during Mt. Gox probably have not stayed in Bitcoin. They probably became very bitter, and that combined with a highly appreciated asset. So what was it Mt. Gox? So what was that date exactly? Yeah, it wasn't. Was that 2014? Yeah, so it was like, yeah, so what was the price in February 2014? Bitcoin price? I think it was probably around, gosh. So yeah, that's right, because it gone up to like 1,200, then it was 550, so about $600 or so. And if you think that people that might have had a couple Bitcoin in there, or people that had like $10,000 in Bitcoin, and have 20, 30, 40, 50 Bitcoin that are now worth a lot of money, and basically getting hacked will probably maybe one of the better financial things that ever happened to them in the end of this. I think a lot of them are actually probably going to dump it. And now that I believe the Mt. Gox creditors, are not going to be doing market dumps anymore. If I remember from a story earlier, don't quote me, that they will actually be offering the ability for people to take it in Bitcoin, versus in, I think it's actually going to be in Japanese yen, because this is being handled in Japan. But anyways, fiat versus Bitcoin. So I think a lot of them are probably going to dump. So I think that if this actually happens, I think you are going to see a price contraction. Not financial advice again. This is just my feeling on it. I think that a lot of people that got burned then probably didn't stick around. There are some that did. You talk to some old OG Bitcoiners, and there's a lot of those folks that were like, that talk about how, yeah, I had money in Mt. Gox. I mean, then again, it was the largest one at the time still, and it'll be very interesting to see how all that pans out. But let's look. I didn't see anything else that I specifically wanted to talk about. And yeah, there's a few little things in there. There was the CryptoKitties people were doing some sort of um, new token and all that kind of good stuff. And great. So that's all I really had for the weekly roundup. If you guys have ideas for stories, things that you see during the week, feel free to, reach out and send me those stories. I would appreciate it. And feel free to contact me, on the YouTube. Gosh, I sound like I'm like 55. Feel free to comment on any of my videos. I will answer you right away. I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. Pretty much any social media. Feel free to reach out to me, DM me, get a hold of me, email me, whatever you want. I'm always available. I always like talking to you guys, so feel free to do that. I appreciate you guys watching. Appreciate you guys listening. You can head over to didyouknowcrypto.com for all the links to all the social media platforms that I'm on. If you're on YouTube, here once I actually post it and go off live, you'll see the link to go to eToro. So head over there, sign up with my affiliate link. You'll help me out. You'll let them know that you listen, watch, whatever. And you'll also let them get $50. Everybody wins. Thanks again for listening. I appreciate it. Have a good night.